I'm Caitlin E, and welcome back to the Lit Review. Today we're doing our favorite thing to film and the thing I'm arguably most consistent about, but that's LitLand. If this is your first time seeing this beautiful board, this is my TBR game, or to be read. It's how I pick the books I plan on reading in a given month, and it was loosely based on Candyland when it first started, but it's grown a lot since then. We'll be seeing more of this board soon, but if you'd like to see more of where this series has taken us, because I've been doing this for about, I want to say almost 4 years now, but you can find a link to that up in the cards or down in the description box below. You will also be able to find the most current rules of LitLand if you're ever curious about any of that. But before we get too far into any of that, I need to tell you how last month went and if I have any big plans for reading in the month of June. I tried to participate in a readathon in May. That didn't go so hot for me through no fault of the readathon. I just couldn't focus. So I'm going to try to stick to the two challenges that I normally do, first of which is my book club, the Book Covered Book Club, where we pick books based on the cover, which in theory you're not supposed to do, but I kind of like doing it. And the prompt for the Book Covered Book Club in June is a book looking over some type of water. Could be a beach, could be a lake, could be a pool, just like a house that looks over water. I see this a lot in thrillers and mysteries, but I think you can do it with literally any genre. And case in point, the book that I'm going to try to get on this TBR this month is, it's a reread for me, but Gillian Foley's Lord of Ice, because you have the gorgeous manor home and a little pond or lake. The Buzzwordathon, hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala, the prompt for June is to read a book whose title has like multiple words or repeating words. So the one I'm going to try to fit in is Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon. This is kind of, I could maybe do it for YA, but it could also potentially work for fantasy because it's like an alt-universe situation. But this is one of the only repeating word books that struck my fancy when I was trying to prep for this. So I think this is what I'm going to try to make work, even if I can't fit it on my TBR. Now, we need to talk about how successful I was with my May TBR and if there are any outstanding punishments. So, first things first, did I complete my Troll Bridge prompt, which was to read something from the bestseller? No, I did not. So I'm so sorry to this user right here who really wanted me to read Fourth Wing. I will do my best to functionally put that on a TBR soon. But I didn't need my Troll Bridge pick this month, friends, because I finished all of the books that were in the danger zone in my rollovers. And those 3 books were right here. So I did finish The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, and Black Hills by Nora Roberts. Now, as for my actual books that were on the rest of my TBR, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm filming this a little bit early, so there are a few more days where I can make something happen, but I have to be realistic about what that actually looks like. So let's just assume that all of these roll over unless I can perform miracles. The first one that has the best hope of getting read, because I actually started it, is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. I am not quite halfway, or maybe halfway through it. I'm really enjoying it. It is going very quickly. This is the one that if I am able to finish anything before June starts, it's going to be this little friend. That means I have 4 rollovers because of the other books I just didn't finish. So, keeping it short here, I didn't finish the Davenports, Dial A for Aunties, Sweet Tooth, or Circe. We have 4 rollovers. That means 4 books that could completely null and void our ability to move forward next month if I don't get to all of them. In my defense, I did hold this one back on purpose because my best friend Katie wants to do a buddy read with me. So the odds of this one being done in June are actually quite high. The other 3, who's to say? But that does mean the monthly troll pick at the end of this video is going to be very important. So I will make sure to do that with you at the very end and see if we can save me from myself. I also think it's worth calling out. June is Pride Month. I want to get some more LGBTQIA+ family books on this TBR. I'm not going to make every book fit that prompt because I want to make sure that I'm sprinkling that representation all year round in my TBR, but I am going to try to prioritize that whenever I can. I'm excited about getting more of that into my TBR this month, and we'll probably mood read around on that theme as well. So we'll see what happens. But that's it. Let's start with this game. Why am I so scared? This game has me afraid of it this month. Why? Oh, it's probably because we've been sent back like twice recently. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, so on that happy note, pull number 1. All right, welcome back to LitLand. Quick tour before we get into it for those who are new. We have our 2 stacks of cards. This bigger one up here has been shuffled. Well, it's been shuffled a long time ago, but that's what we'll be pulling from. These are the ones that are used, and these are our cards from last month, including our little challenges and troll bridge things, which will go into the stack right here. And then we have some other cards that might be relevant. Who knows? Let's see. This one is if we pull a card that looks like this, and we will have to complete a challenge that is on there. So these green ones here are if we get stuck or if I have to take a punishment, which thankfully none of that this month. The blue cards are our troll bridge picks. So if we land on one of these little rainbows, just because I wanted to use them more, or if we wanted to cross one of these bridges, and they're also part of our monthly troll. So we will talk about that at the end of the video. I think this is where Wilbur was. First time in a while that we've been able to do 4 proper pulls, so let's get to it. Ooh. Boop. Okay, but that actually was a happy note. 1 red. Red is my romance category. I love to see it. I say that every time, but I mean it every time. This makes it really easy for me to get my book covered book club pick in. I'm gonna go with Lord of Ice by Gillian Foley. This is a reread for me, and I have a little bit of trepidation about doing it, despite the fact that it's my pick for my own book club, which, to clarify, you do not have to track this down and read it. Please pick whatever fits the theme. I used to really love Gillian Foley, and then I read a novella of hers a couple of years ago that like really put me off. And so I still have a few of her books that I did read and enjoy at the time, but now I have like a little bit of trepidation that I'm gonna go back and not have as good of a time. So we're gonna see. Sorry if you can hear the airplane. This is also a blatant attempt on my part to get some historical romance into my TBR as I try to figure out my life in the middle of the Bridgerton gap, and then hopefully to provide aid after. This is a historical romance, and it is a companion novel, so I have this one, and then the other one that I still own from her is Lord of Fire, which is like the duet to this, and it's another like family romance kind of situation. There are other books in the series, but I really remember liking the duet because I think they're twins. So Damien Knight is our hero in this book, though, and he's the Earl of Winterly, and he is basically suffering with PTSD, which I find really interesting as a representation piece in historical fiction like this, historical romantic fiction specifically. So he has deliberately decided to live in seclusion because he doesn't want to be judged for what we would call PTSD, but like at the time they did not have a name for what this was or like what this meant in society. However, he is named a guardian to a fellow officer's ward, and her name is Miranda Fitzhubert. It turns out that they have an immense amount of attraction, but he feels compelled and honor-bound to like see her through a season, essentially. Something else is going on with her. I cannot remember what it is because it's been so many years since This is a historical kind of like light taboo romance in that he is her guardian, she is his ward. I can't speak to like how well that was actually done anymore because I think my standards for that have changed. So we'll see what I actually think of this. I am excited to read it though, and it will potentially free up some more space on my shelves if I'm not feeling her anymore as an author. We'll see. Pull number 2. Whoop. All right. Boop. Boop. 2? A red times 2 means 2 romances for me, which is great, which is freaking great. I'm gonna try to pull some romances that are more like LGBTQIA plus friendly, and I don't have my books perfectly organized, but a lot of the books here on this shelf, not all of them, but a lot of them are queer romances. Oh. Yeah. I've been avoiding this one for no good reasons. I think a really easy pick here is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This was super popular a couple of years ago, so you might have even heard of this book or seen this beautiful cover around. But I am a chronic reader of things past their hype point. So here we are. So our main character here on the cover is Grace Porter. Grace recently completed her PhD and to celebrate goes to Vegas. And in a moment that is vastly different from her typical character, she finds herself married in Vegas to a beautiful woman who she does not know at all, whose name is Yuki. And in order to kind of like parse out her own feelings and avoid some of the expectations that she feels like just the huge amount of pressure under, she decides to spend the summer in New York with her new wife and figuring that out and learning about herself in the process. It is a fairly short book compared to some of the others that I already have on the TBR, but I'm really looking forward to this. People really loved it when it first came out, so I'm excited to get to experience this, and it feels like a really good thing to add to my June TBR. I sometimes mention my priority shelf, but I've moved my situation to where you can see the majority of my shelves. The priority shelf still exists. It is just kind of like under construction, but I do want to pull from it more frequently, so I did go and look there, and hopefully in future videos you'll actually be able to see it better, but that's neither here nor there. I'm picking Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. I've been wanting to read this for the last couple of months, but I've been kind of like saving it for Pride. Oh my gosh, one of the protagonists' name in this is also Grace. So that's a thing. So Grace Henderson, we have two, I believe we have dual POV in this book. So one of our female leads is Grace Henderson. She has been a huge part of the U.S. national women's soccer team. Even though she's only 26, she's been in that position for 10 years, so she's a real superstar. However, when she gets injured, the new person on the team, Phoebe, kind of takes her spot, and so there's a lot of natural tension there. And wouldn't you know it, there's also sexual tension. This feels like a great pickup for me personally because I've been contemplating yet another rewatch of Ted Lasso. Even if that's not quite what happens in Ted Lasso, this tension sounds really great and like a really good riff on kind of a soccer sports romance. So I'm super pumped about this. Okay, pull number 3. Oh. Oh dear. Okay. Boop. Boop. Okay. Sorry you can't see Wilbur super clearly. That's like a light from like the overhead lights in my house. But he's there. Okay, so that's another ×2. Orange ×2 means I have to pick 2 from either fantasy or sci-fi, which gives me a little bit of leeway. I do that because I don't own a ton of sci-fi, but I do own a lot of fantasy, so it kind of like smooshes them in there a little bit. But let's see what I can find. Okay, I did jokingly mention this. I will put Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros on my TBR officially. So here we go. This is a romantic fantasy. I'm sorry, I really have a hard time focusing when things are shiny. I'm gonna set this to the side for both of us. But you've probably heard about Fourth Wing if you're at all invested in the bookish community. It continues to be a really rampant bestseller in this space. So it is the story of Violet, who is a chronically ill young woman who thinks she is going to be a scribe because the other careers available to her in her very militaristic society don't seem that safe for her. But it turns out her mother is the general of the army and kind of a bitch. So she forces her daughter into the Dragon Riders. And basically Violet is like, cool, that's probably going to kill me. But naturally she rises to the challenge and like throws herself into figuring out how to be a dragon rider. And of course, because it's a romantic fantasy, there is a love interest who is kind of I want to call this situation like enmity to lovers, where they're not enemies, but they angry at each other for whatever reason. But this is a very popular series that you've probably heard of. I am just very, again, slow at getting to hyped things. And that's okay. We're going to get to it maybe this month. We'll see. Now, this next one I'm going to include because it is a book that I've pulled from the library. I am trying to be better about pulling things from my own library, but also the public library, because public libraries are freaking awesome. On a recent trip, I found Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi, and I've been seeing this book everywhere too, and the covers for it are like really graphically bold and striking. And it's not that big for a fantasy, so I'm not mad at that. So it's the first book in what will be a trilogy. I believe book 2 is out. I don't think book 3 is out. Might be wrong about that. We'll check back. But this is about 2 elven sisters who get imprisoned in the world of the Fae. Yiren is one of our main female leads, one of those two sisters, and she's a warrior. She is apparently very good at it because there's a lot of language about like she's born of violence, she's only ever known violence. Like, okay, so she's scary. She's really good with a blade. Her little sister, Lettel, is trying to forge a different path in this sense as a diviner who's like doing prophecy. And something goes terribly wrong where Yiren gets exiled, and both sisters are forced into the wilderness beyond their borders when they find themselves in the land of the Fae. They haven't been seen for a millennium, but they stumble upon them and are now kind of in the Fae court with all of the intrigue that usually implies. I'm actually like really pumped about this. Plus, it'll get me to read a library book, which is nice. I would like to read a minimum, I think, of like 25 library books this year, and I've been slacking on that goal. So this helps. This helps a little bit. Pull number 4. Final pull. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Boop. Boop. Oi. All right. This is not like actually a bad thing. I just feel like weirdly validated by my trepidation. It's fine. Another times 2, which means that I have so many books to read, so I better pick some good ones. Yellow times 2 means that I have to pick 2 from my YA category. Okay, while my brain continues spinning its wheels, I do know that I can fit my Buzzwordathon pick in here, which is good, especially because I neglected to do that with fantasy. I was not on the ball there. But Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon is going to be one of our YA picks. I picked this one up. I think it was Haley from Haley and Bookland like years ago that made this book pop off. But I've been reading a chunk of historical fiction, and even now as I'm reading The Nightingale, this had like a really strong appeal to me because this is a historical alt-universe situation in which the Nazis won World War II. So this is set in Germany in 1956, and our female main character's name is Yel. I am not 100% sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly, so I'm going to maybe include kind of the phonetic pronunciation if I can look that up later, but if I'm mispronouncing it, I will fix that when I talk about it next. Basically, she gets into a motorcycle race because she wants to kill Hitler, and the only way to do that is to like get herself in a situation where she would be brought before him. This motorcycle race is like a prestigious thing. It's been a long time since I've actually like picked this up and got invested in it, so this is a good thing to kind of reinvigorate my TBR a little bit. It also helps that it's not terribly long since I accidentally made this TBR huge. That's at least one of my YA picks down. Let me see if I can do, I know I have some YA, which is like over here. You can't even see. There's a whole other shelf. I know I have some really delightful queer YA over here. Let me see what I can find. Also, before I make my pick, this little man had things to say. He's snooping around my filming equipment, being a menace. He's trying to eat my microphone. That's usually Gizmo's problem, but today it was an Erwin problem. I love him so much. So my final pick is going to be Camp by Elsie Rosen. This also has been on my TBR, like hanging out for a little while. So it's a YA contemporary romance. The main character's name is Randy, and Randy loves summer camp. He loves everything about camp, from the show tunes to performing in the big musical and the friends he's made along the way. He also identifies summer camp as where he fell in love for the first time. So while Randy self-identifies as more of like a femme gay teen, he sees Hudson as really more of a mask or masculine gay teen who is like only into other mask boys. So Randy decides to return to summer camp, and to use the language that's on the back of this book, Randy returns to camp as Dell, mask and looking for love, even if it means giving up his show tunes and nail polish and all the things that he really loves about summer camp. He's really determined to get to Hudson this year and make him fall in love with him. This sounds like cute and angsty. I'm also really hoping for a more nuanced take on some of the identity politics here, this idea of like femme versus mask. So I hope the author gets a chance to kind of explore that with Randy and Hudson and kind of, you know, like just explore that space a little bit, because I think that's what this kind of like queer YA lit deserve. So I'm hoping that that is what we get here. But I also think, based on the premise and the very cute cover, that it might just be a fluffy good time, which is also great. I'm cautiously optimistic here with our final pick for LitLand. All right, so officially, the LitLand TBR for June gave us 7 books. So for June, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi, Camp by Elsie Rosen, Wolf by Ryan Groudon, Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers, Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner, and Galen Foley's Lord of Ice, which has got some really weird splashback on its spine, but there we go. So these are my 7 official books for June. So 11 books that I'm really trying to read here, but we're not done yet. We still gotta pick a Trollbridge card. So if you've made it this far in the video, welcome. Welcome to the monthly troll, where we take my cute little Trollbridge cards from the LitLand game and get to pull one together. There could be anything in here. Sometimes it's activities to like encourage me to do things. Sometimes it's gameplay specific. And other times it's just like a book like a book challenge for us to take part in. This is totally optional for both of us, really. It's just a way for us to do something together, which I kind of like. So if you do not complete the Trollbridge like nothing bad happens to me, please do not feel obligated. Just have a good time with whatever the challenge is. Now, if I don't complete the challenge, like nothing bad happens to me, but if I do complete it, it helps me save myself from one potential punishment in the following month. So there is some incentive for me to do this more so than anything else. But let's pull this thing. I did not want to... Oh, it's upside down. Okay, that's why it's not working. Okay. Oh, no. Pull an extra card. So this could be anything that could happen to us organically in game through the regular LitLand deck, which I have brought up here now from the floor. And I guess we're just doing this. Cool. I always say like, ooh, I love to see romance, and now I have to add 2 extra books to my TBR. Cool. I mean, at least it's romance, right? Like I can get through romance pretty quickly, or at least I think I can. Okay, so I'm gonna take myself at my own word here, which, you know, you should probably do. I'm gonna pull something else from a recent library grab, and then I'm gonna pull another like queer romance, because, you know, why not? On a recent library trip, I picked up Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. This is something that has been on like my kind of virtual TBR, I think, for a while, because it's a obviously Pride and Prejudice retelling. So our female main character in this is Dr. Trisha Raj, who's an acclaimed neurosurgeon. It's still not good enough for her family, who have like a lot of rules that Trisha feels like she's broken. And in order to kind of make it up to them, she's gonna like hold tight and try to, you know, keep herself in line a little bit. Oh my God, the drama level on this sounds immaculate. So then she meets DJ Kane, who is an up-and-coming chef who gets kind of like entangled with her parents. And when they first meet, DJ is really put off by Trisha. So it sounds like Trisha is actually kind of the Mr. Darcy role with these intense expectations, because DJ feels like Trisha is judging him from his humble beginnings, but DJ needs the job that her family is offering him, which is made worse when he realizes that in her capacity as like a renowned neurosurgeon, Trisha is the only person who might be able to help save his little sister's life. I'm already so looking forward to this because this sounds so dramatic, plus it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, so this is actually great. All right, and that other romance that I will need to add, I scoured my priority shelf again to try to do that. So I picked this one up last year from Meet Cute in San Diego, and that is Sword Dance by AJ Demas? But it's a historical queer romance. And that was good enough for me to want to yank this onto my TBR. It says on the back that it's book 1 of the Sword Dance trilogy, so if I enjoy this, there's more to explore. What I really liked about this is the fact that, 1, it's a queer romance, which I'm getting more and more into and I really love. It's also a historical romance in a time period that I don't see very frequently. I believe this is like ancient Greece. So one of our main characters, I believe, is named Damascus, and he has had this illustrious military career that is cut short in battle, and he now has a physical disability. So he's grieving that life that he had and is trying to figure out what to do next with his life. He ends up at this remote seaside villa of an old friend. So as he's kind of recovering and looking for more work, he ends up at a villa with what the back cover kind of suggests is an odd assortment of characters, including the enigmatic and captivating sword dancer, Varazda, who I believe is non-binary, but I am not quite sure yet until I get a chance to read in the pages. But stuff starts to go kind of weird in the villa, and these two have that dynamic of kind of like enmity to lovers. Like, they're not strictly rivals, but they just don't like each other. Not enough to be enemies, because I feel like enemies to lovers has a lot of a harsher dynamic to it than what these two seem to have going. But the villa's guests begin to reveal their true characters and motives. So there's a bizarre web of espionage, theft, and assassination. Also quite short, which is good. So these two I don't have to read. Like, if I just get bogged down by the sheer volume of shit that I'm trying to read this month, I don't have to. But reading these two, which are romances and should go fairly quickly, may protect me from one of my 4 potential punishment options for next month. So it might be worth my time and energy. We'll see. As always, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have a fantastic reading day or night, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
Hold on, girl, now wait just a minute. I've got something to say, you should hear it. Oh, I'm happy to make time.